Sednaya Military Prison. Even the name sends shivers down your spine. Built in 1978, it was initially intended as a military detention center. It's located in a desolate area north of Damascus, Syria. The Assad regime, then under Hafez al-Assad, wanted a place to silence the opposition. Sednaya, with its towering walls and remote location, was a perfect fit. No one knew then that it would become a symbol of unimaginable cruelty. The prison's early years were shrouded in secrecy. Information about the conditions inside was scarce, but whispers of abuse and torture began to emerge. The world, preoccupied with other conflicts, paid little attention. This neglect would have dire consequences. Sednaya was a ticking time bomb. Its true horror had yet to be unleashed. 2011 marked a turning point in Syria's history. The Arab Spring, a wave of pro-democracy uprisings, had reached the country. Protests erupted against the rule of Bashar al-Assad, who had inherited the presidency from his father. The regime responded with brutal force. Peaceful demonstrators were met with live ammunition. Thousands were arrested and disappeared into the labyrinth of Syria's prison system. Sednaya became a primary tool of repression. The prison, built to hold a few thousand, overflowed with tens of thousands of detainees. Men, women, even children were crammed into overcrowded cells. Food and water were scarce, diseases were rampant, torture, once sporadic, became systematic. It was a deliberate policy to break the prisoner's will and instill terror. Brutal beating inflicted on newcomers. Another, Omar, spoke of the constant fear of death. "Every day," he said, "we woke up expecting to be the next victim." Their testimonies, corroborated by human rights organizations, painted a chilling picture of a slaughterhouse operating in the shadows. The world could no longer claim ignorance. Sednaya had become a stain on the conscience of humanity. The atrocities committed in Sednaya did not remain hidden forever. Human rights organizations, journalists, and courageous individuals risked their lives to expose the truth. In a landmark 2017 report, Amnesty International described Sednaya as a human slaughterhouse. The report, based on interviews with survivors and defectors, provided gruesome details of mass hangings and extrajudicial killings. Satellite imagery analysis corroborated the accounts, revealing mass graves near the prison. The international community, though slow to react, began to take notice. The United Nations called for an independent investigation. Several countries imposed sanctions on Syrian officials implicated in the abuses. However, more needed to be done. The Assad regime, emboldened by its allies, continued to deny any wrongdoing. Justice for the victims of Sednaya remained elusive. Part 5. The Wheels of Justice. Bringing the perpetrators of Sednaya's atrocities to justice is a daunting task. Syria is a country ravaged by civil war, with a fragmented judicial system and a government operating with impunity. However, there are glimmers of hope. The principle of universal jurisdiction allows national courts to investigate and prosecute individuals for heinous crimes, regardless of where they were committed. In a landmark 2021 case, Germany convicted a former Syrian intelligence officer of crimes against humanity for his role in the torture and murder of detainees, including at Sednaya. This verdict, the first of its kind, set an important precedent. It sent a clear message that those responsible for atrocities in Syria will be held accountable, even if it takes years or even decades. The fight for justice for the victims of Sednaya is far from over. Thousands of detainees remain unaccounted for. Their families live with the unbearable pain of not knowing the fate of their loved ones. It is our duty to remember their names and keep their stories alive. We must not allow time to diminish their suffering or absolve the perpetrators. The atrocities of Sednaya serve as a stark reminder of the fragility of human rights and the devastating consequences of unchecked power. They also highlight the importance of speaking out against injustice, even when it seems futile. Silence is complicity. We must never tire of demanding accountability and justice for the victims of Sednaya and all victims of human rights violations around the world. Fighting for human rights can seem like a daunting task. The scale of suffering in the world can be paralyzing. It's easy to feel powerless in the face of such immense cruelty. However, it's important to remember that every voice matters. Every act of solidarity, no matter how small, can make a difference. Speaking out against injustice can take many forms. It could be as simple as sharing a post on social media, writing to your elected officials, or donating to an organization that supports survivors of torture. It can also mean educating yourself and others about human rights violations, challenging discriminatory language and behavior, and advocating for policies that promote justice and equality. The fight for human rights is a collective responsibility. It requires sustained effort, courage, and unwavering commitment. We must work together to create a world where atrocities like those committed in Sednaya are unthinkable. We must hold perpetrators accountable, support survivors, and build a future where human rights are respected and protected for all. Let us honor the memory of those who suffered and perished in Sednaya by continuing to fight for justice and accountability. Let us work tirelessly to create a world where such atrocities are never repeated. The road to justice is long and arduous, but we must never lose sight of the goal. The future of humanity depends on it. Even in the darkest of times, hope endures. The resilience of the human spirit, especially among survivors of trauma and injustice, is a testament to our capacity to heal and rebuild. The fight for human rights is ultimately a fight for a better future, a future where dignity, equality, and justice prevail. While the scars of Sednaya will remain forever, the spirit of those who suffered there continues to inspire. Their stories remind us of the importance of empathy, compassion, and an unwavering belief in the inherent dignity of all human beings. Let us honor their memory by working tirelessly to create a world where such atrocities are relegated to the history books, and where hope, justice, and humanity triumph over darkness.